You can do it too. Easy as 1, 2, 3. You can do it too. Come along and draw with me. Pads and pencils, a very good start. So when you draw with your heart. You draw with your heart, 'cause you can do it too. You can do it too. You can do it too.
Hi, my name is Lydia Forte-Santiago. Welcome to You Could Do It Too. Now, last lesson, we colored in our apple and we added in the shades and we made it very perspective looking so it could look pretty and nice. And then we framed it, and this is the result. Today, what we're going to do is we're going to do this pretty pear. And what I said last week is, remember what I said when we draw? You first look at your object, you study it, and you see the different shades of color before you even draw. You want to look at it, you want to study it. So don't just start drawing right away. And you want to take your time and you want to do this nice and slow, not fast. Take your time. Speed comes later. So we're going to look at it and we're going to start drawing the pear. And here's the stem. And we're going to put it on the table so you could use one of your pencils for a ruler. We could just kind of like, this is where it's going to sit. Now, once you draw it in, the right side has just a little bit more shadow because the light is also coming from the top. So it seems to be very lit up over here on the right side. And here it throws in a nice shadow. And on the table, there's a little cast shadow that we're going to draw. So we're going to press it in, like I said, and then we're going to just kind of darken it. Now remember what I said when we drew the apple? I said when we start to shadow, you have to make it dark, and as you come in, you can lighten up. So make it really dark. And as it turns, we could lighten up over here. Take this off. This was just a little bit dark. Sometimes you make a little error here and there and you just kind of fix it. And the stem, I see it lit down here, but the top of the stem, which is over here, there's a little darkness right in there. So we're kind of like darkening that. And then we're going to light it with a little eraser. And right in here, the bottom of the stem, there's just a little bit of an indentation because that's kind of like where the stem is going into the pear. Here, we start shadowing in. And don't forget, when you start the drawing, you kind of start lightly to make sure that it's coming out right. When you're sure, when you like the way it looks, and you see that it looks good, then you can come in a little bit strong. But you never start too strong in the beginning because you're not sure if it's going to look good. So first you keep it light. Now as I'm beginning to follow my shape and feel it, and don't forget, you draw with your heart, you feel what you're doing. and it's a passion, you love it, and it can be lots and lots of fun. So right at the bottom, the pear is sitting on the table, so you want to make it just darker because that's where it's leaning on the table. And then, of course, this is throwing, as we look, there's throwing a pear shadow, and we can kind of darken this. A nice, pretty shadow. And then here's the charcoal. So now I'm not going to hold it like a pencil, like to draw a line. I'm going to hold it this way. And the reason being, I'm just going to kind of bring it down like this, just to kind of, and then we could just kind of, this is just to draw my table out. So you see it's not just floating in air, but it's kind of like on the table. And we're going to do the same thing over here. Just, this could be a little lighter. And we could just, this way it sits on the table. And try to be clean as you work. Keep your edges, your lines clean. And you can also look back a little bit from a distance just to see how it's coming. Now right here, this shade, it's a shade of green, but it's darker green. So I'm just going to darken this a little because there's an indentation right here in the pear, a pretty indentation. So we kind of want to bring that out. We want to make that a little bit kind of more detailed. And at the bottom here too, because the light source is coming from, it's kind of coming also from the top. So down here, you can kind of shadow it in a little bit. And then you can start punching in with your eraser to put in your highlights. This can be a little light. And it's easy to work with charcoal and pastel. I'm just taking some of the charcoal from here just to kind of show the table. On art, it's a lot of fun. Don't forget, I started drawing stick figures. And you can do it too. Now, let's go back to the pear. The bottom of the pear, we're going to shadow this in. Now, you know what happens? As I'm doing this with the charcoal, the same thing that I'm doing with the charcoal, that's why it's easy, and I tell you it's easy because it's not really difficult. It's sort of like a principle you follow, and you kind of like repeat the principle over again. Now, I'm doing basics like the apple, the pear, one thing object, so it becomes easy and fun. Later on, we could do other things, but I want to make it enjoyable and easy. Now, when I go back, and every now and then you kind of look at your pear and you study it. Well, there's just a little bit where the light hits it. Here, it's going to the other side. Here, you lighten it. Right here, the stem, if you look close, the stem. See, it's all about light on form. Art is about light on form. The way the light is hitting, in this case, the pear, which is the object. So the way the light is hitting the pear is what we're going to draw. So whether you're doing this or whether you're doing a portrait, it's always the way the light is falling on the form. That's very important to remember because you're studying light and you're studying the way light falls on an object, on a person, on an animal, when you draw an animal. So this is the study of light on form. And now, as you see, the light is hitting right the top of the pear, so we lighten. Behind the pear, there's a little light, you lighten that. Now there's light on the right side, and then you have these little highlights, which you want to put in. And then, of course, you also want to throw in your shadow. Which is on the table. So you could see it's resting on the table. And there's like a little kind of little bump there. Now you highlight the stem. When you're not sure, always keep it like a light touch. Don't make it intense. You only make it intense when you're certain and you're sure. And always keep your paper nice and clean, because don't forget, you're gonna sign it, you're gonna frame it, and you're gonna give it a finished look like we did with the apple. So now you back off a little bit to get the whole feel of it. And right in here, it's, as I'm observing my pear, is just a little bit darker because this is, and light as it moves out, it gets lighter. So closer is darker. Always remember as you draw, it's a study of light on form, the way light is falling on an object. This is what art is about, is light on form. Now it's beginning to look a little bit more punchy. Now these colors, as they're dark, they're going to be the different darker shades of green will make the pear look. And right in here where the stem is, you can kind of just darken a little bit. Just like that, to show that the stem is going into the pear. I'll just bring that down a little bit. Oh. And you could always email me, and if you want any tips or any suggestions of the show, or ask me anything that you might need help with, I'll be more than glad to help you. Now what we're going to do over here, I'm going to take my eraser, because I see a different lightness over here. So I'm going to just kind of lighten that up a little bit. Kind of like a reflected light bouncing off there. And we're going to look from a distance and back off a little, because I just see just like a little lighter shade of green there. And in here, it just gets a little bit, it's light here, but right underneath it, there's a little bit, the shades of green change. And we're gonna make this lighter too in here to bring this out. So you just kind of like bring that out. Just to make it like a little bit more intense. Back off. look at your art piece, then come back, and then you can continue. And add that your highlights. And right in here, there's like a little bit of an increase here. There, so you could just kind of like, it just going in a little bit there. See, so you could see the form. And it's all study of light and form. I can't stress this enough because this is what art is about light on form. That's the way you have to think about it, because this is what we're really studying, because we want to make it look as three-dimensional as possible and as realistic and as detailed as possible, so it could look very real. And it's always, what makes it that way is how you're drawing in your light. I look to my right here, I see this little lightness here, because as we observe the pear, there's an indentation there. The stem, we're kind of gonna make it a little bit smaller there. See, just lighten that up a little bit. And then I also have these pencils, which are pastel pencils, and they're kind of easy to draw with, because if you want to get into something that's small and kind of detailed, you can kind of like work it up with the pencil to make it a little easier for yourself. Keep the paper clean. Here's the table. Sometimes what I do is, you want to make these straight lines, so you can kind of use your pencils like a ruler, just so you could have nice lines. And now you see how pretty it's looking. And sometimes it's amazing, but when you study this light on form and you do these effects, you almost look back and say, gee, did I do that? Sometimes I can't even, wow, did I do that? And then you feel like you've accomplished something that you think you couldn't do it, but you can do it too. Remember that you can do it too. And as you draw, remember, you can do it too. Sometimes if things, like some people say they're difficult, but they're not really difficult. The word is challenging. They're challenging to do. And then when you finally get it, it's fun to observe it and say, wow, I did do it too. So it's really as easy as 1, 2, 3. Now we look back, observe it, observe your pear, observe your shadow right here. We can kind of get a little bit more highlight down on the table down here, and here, and we can, I see just like, so you got to really, really look at this. So remember, art is the study of light, how light falls on a form, any form. A pear, an apple, a person, a tree, a river. And this is what we're doing. We're painting light on form. And you can also, another thing that's very important that I want to mention, as you go in, see, if you're holding your pencil here and you're heavy, you lighten it up with the touch of your hand. The touch of your hand, if you're holding a brush, if you're holding a pencil, it has to change in the pressure. Like if I'm pressuring, I go lighter, and then I go lighter. And this is how you get different effects. This is how you get value, different values in color. See, so now as I'm lightening this up with the touch of the hand, it's lighter and lighter. And then I come over here, and I want to put some color here because I don't want it to be completely without color, because I'm looking at this, I see the colors, but I don't want it as heavy as the right side, so now the touch is light, really, really light. So now you have to change the touch of the hand, and you got to go lighter and light, 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 almost like you can't even kind of feel. Lighter, 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 lighter. Now, as you do this light touch, there's color there, but of course it's not that intense. So now look at it. Now it looks really pretty. And then right at the bottom of the pear, there's a really dark, because it's sitting on the table. So you kind of want to, now it's pressure. Now this is pressure, because I want to show that it's resting on that table. So this is important. Hard. And make it strong. Now again, we come with the eraser and we highlight it. Highlight that. Highlight. Here's our stem. There's a little bit of darkness right in here that I could see in this stem. I'm going to do that. Again, light with the touch of the hand. So your hand, it's pressure, it's light, it's lighter, it's very light touch, it's deeper, it's all different strokes, whether you do it with the pencil, whether you do it with the charcoal, or whether you do it with a paintbrush. It has to change, the touch has to change. This is how you get different effects. Now the pear is turning, it's going, so just as we turn, we go a little lighter there. Just even though there's some shade there, but it's diffuse. It's not as intense. And now here, the table. We can kind of darken the table over here a little bit. And we're going to take, right here, I'm just going to add a little edge there to the table so you know where it should be lighter on the right and darker. So, remember, as I said, as you're drawing, always remember, you can do it too. If I can do it, so can you. It's fun, it's easy. Now it's beginning to look like a pear. Keep your paper clean. Let's just make this just a little bit more intense here. Now what I'm doing now, like if you see, oh, I'm going over this, what I'm doing is I'm reinstating what I did. So to make it a little bit stronger, I come back and I reinstate it and stay with it. Don't just do it fast and dismiss it and go draw something. Stay with your picture. Stay with it. Because the more you stay with it, the better it becomes, the more realistic. Don't just do it fast and just leave it. You have to just stay with it. Whatever you're painting, you have to stay with it. This way, what we're doing is redefining. Imagine how long Michelangelo stayed with it, painting the Mona Lisa. Huh. You stay with your art till you really, and then when you're happy with it, that you're satisfied, then you can move on. But in the beginning, don't do that. In the beginning, just stay with the painting, you know. And remember, you could do it too. And remember, it's light on form. Art is a study of light on form. This is very important, and I can't stress it enough because this is what it is. So it really doesn't matter if you like to draw a river or a brook or a person, a portrait. It's always the study of the way the light is reflecting on the portrait, on the object, on the tree, on a flower, on anything that you like to do. We are studying light and the way it falls. And once you get that hang of it, you'll see that your paintings will be more brilliant and easier to do. Now, if you need any tips from me, or you want any suggestions, anything, then I would love to hear from you. And you could contact me at my website, which is Forte-Santiago.com. And it's a pleasure having to do the show and helping you guys. And I hope you view me next time. So remember, you can do it too. Thanks.
You can do it too. Easy as 1, 2, 3. You can do it too. Come along and draw with me. Pads and pencils, a very good start. So when you draw with your heart. You draw with your heart, 'cause you can do it too.